Phyllis' next guest is Nikki Anarado, a certified relationship coach, social strategist, and matchmaker, helping high-achieving women build healthy, intentional connections through emotional clarity, confidence, and her prepare-to-be-pursued framework. Nikki has a very special take on helping women find meaningful relationships. Stay tuned for a very interesting discussion.
You are watching Profundo TV with host Phyllis Haynes.
Nikki, I am so delighted to have you as a guest. It is not a topic that I cover regularly, but I know that my audience would be very interested in what it is that you do. Now, I know that you are a social development coach. You're also a dating preparation coach. How would you describe what it is that you do?
That's such a great question. I'm so delighted to be here, Phyllis. Thanks so much for this time with you. Well, I do mostly support. I support women in making the connections of their dreams, right? So ultimately, that leads them to being prepared to date in a way that honors them and their value system and the type of future they see for themselves. But in the meantime, as we work towards that, we improve their ability to develop new meaningful connections, restructure some of the dynamics in their current relationships, whether it be with their children, their friendships, their family, or even at work. And so this empowers them, makes them feel useful, meaningful, fulfilled before they seek an ultimate loving, romantic relationship. So there are definitely layers to it, but I think the basic premise is just like you kind of initially pointed out, it's the social component, it's the connection, right? And so those type of skills are mostly what women come to me to develop.
Well, now this is a very challenging time for relationships because everything seems to be digital and
Yes,
technical and swiping left or right. Does that
absolutely.
help or hurt your work?
That's such a good question, such a good point. I think it could only help if a woman or a person has the skills to understand how to utilize technology appropriately. Technology is never going to be a replacement for human connection. And unfortunately, if people are going to technology as a way to replace the connection, meaning that they don't think that they need the skills, to develop a connection with a human. They just want the technology to do it on their behalf. That's where a lot of people go wrong. And so
Aha.
that's why, yeah, that's where many women find themselves. I did online dating, I did this, I did that, it didn't work. It's like, okay, well, on the other side of that, hopefully, there's a human. And so if you don't have connection skills, it won't work in person or online. So let's work on those connection skills, and eventually a woman will have results online.
Well, I have a few girlfriends
Yeah.
who have said things like, all the good men are gone. Now, that's a certain kind of perspective.
Yes.
Is that true, first of all? And how do you deal with that perspective?
Yeah, that's such a great question, and it's such a very, very, very common statement that many women make. And the first thing I like to do with these narratives or with these experiences is to first validate it because it's their experience. It's the way that they view things. Maybe the men that have approached them, unfortunately, maybe they've been taken, you know, and that's sometimes women's real experience that they just keep getting approached by men that are unfortunately already in relationships. So that could be a woman's experience, but it doesn't have to be. So that's the angle that I'm coming from. It doesn't have to be. So whatever experience a woman is having that she does not like, appreciate, value, and makes her just want to shut down, there is a way to do things differently. It doesn't mean that anything's your fault or anything's wrong with you as a person, but there are ways to get results, even if it seems that all the good men are taken.
So I'm happily married, but
Yes.
let's think about what would be my experience when I make my
Mhm.
first connection with you. What
Yeah.
happens to someone who comes to you?
Right. Women find me in a slew of different ways. Either it's through referrals, through some therapists recommend me, some, friends and family might recommend me. But the first encounter usually has been in the past. It's my 5-day Make Room for Boaz challenge. That's where most of the women that I ultimately work with long term have an experience with me. And so I have that challenge that happens every once in a while. I have one starting on Monday. But through that, I take a woman through a lot of points that might show up in their life in regards to why this is not a priority, why they might want to make it a priority. It just helps them get clarity about where they are and where they want to be, separate from what the world is telling them they should be thinking about this area of life. So it gives women language to how they might be feeling about this area of life. It validates some of their experiences, but also slowly and softly and gently invites them into something new. And so again, that's usually how women find me. Other than that, you know,
I'm going to interrupt you and
yeah,
say,
sure,
so
of course.
this is an online challenge
Yeah,
that people
absolutely.
are invited to fill out, and they
Yes,
find you at your website or
yes,
Prepared to Be Pursued, which is the title
right,
of your website,
right,
and
absolutely.
so they get to answer some questions
Mm-hmm.
that after they do that, then they might come to you.
Right.
So, okay,
Yes.
all right.
Yeah. So through Prepare to Be Pursued on my website, Prepare to Be Pursued, there is a quiz
Mhm.
that's also available there. Explore Your Allure. A woman can complete that. It helps her get clarity about where she is and where she wants to be. And also, she can indicate at the end of that experience if they'll like someone to reach out to them.
Okay, so are there people that just are hopeless in your view that you can't help?
That's such a good question. I would say nobody's hopeless unless they think they're hopeless.
Ah, so mindset is very
Yeah.
important.
So if they've already, checked out, I mean, to a large, deep degree, I had women that have said they checked out, but that was only because they didn't have me. And then once they encountered me, they were like, no, I don't have to check out. I can see how you can help me, But if a woman just does not care to ever have close encounters with a man ever again, or if she's just beyond the point of making new friends or changing her circle or trusting others again, and she's kind of just over it all, then, that's beyond my scope at that point.
Okay. Now,
Mhm.
here's one of the most controversial topics of our time. Is there, in your opinion, such a thing as a single soulmate?
Oh, that's such a good question. And I don't think there is. I don't necessarily view it that way. And it gives me a lot of peace in knowing that we don't have to be out there kind of like operating under that. And also, if you want to get biblical for a second, there's no biblical ideology that really staunchly professes that. Um, a person could choose to think how they would like to think. But from my view, no, no, no. We get what we get based on what we prioritize. That's it. And there's guidance on how people got married and how people got coupled and the processes and the traditions that's what we all know. But the thought that there's only one person for each person, I don't see that as practical at all.
Now, I'm sure you know that in many societies, long before the Americas, and even
Mhm.
now today, sometimes people are being matched by their parents in some
Yes,
places,
yes.
uh, matchmaking
Mhm.
entities completely. Do you operate as a matchmaker ever?
I do. I
You
have.
do?
Yes,
Huh.
absolutely. I'm a certified matchmaker. But through the work that I do with the women, they don't need that part.
Uh,
They don't even need it.
they can attract who they need to be with. All right. Well,
Hmm.
give us a hint. Give us a couple of hints that you would give to a woman. Let's just say a woman. Let's give you a classic case. A woman who
Okay.
is uh, over 40. Based on statistics, she might be divorced. In this case, she
Okay.
won't have any children, but
Okay.
she's
Okay.
ready for something else. So,
Yes,
what would be a first priority for her to think about?
absolutely. So the first priority to think about is how can having a man enrich your life? And I like to ask that question, and there's six very common answers to that that I allow women to choose from. Usually, it's first and foremost companionship, raising children or having children, or even having a male kind of authority in a adult child's life, if that's important to her. Having the access to his extended family, if she comes from a small family, or maybe she's lost many family members.
I'm
Um,
interrupting you because that
yeah,
reminds me.
yeah.
I years and years ago, I don't like to share my personal life, but I dated
Hmm.
a very lovely person,
Hmm.
and I went on a first date and met his entire family. And that was the reason I would not ever see him again because he came from a traditional family where the women were subordinated. And I said, this is not going to be for me. I mean, I am not going
Yeah,
to be under someone's thumb for the rest of my
right.
life. But it was
Absolutely.
such an eye opening because I did not know that he came from
Mhm.
such a traditional, old fashioned background. So
Yeah.
I said,
Uh-huh.
goodbye. But anyways, so go on. So
No,
you
family is hugely important. The sooner that you can get access to a man's family, the better, so that you can make those type of
uh,
decisions sooner
interesting.
than later. You got to know where he's coming from. So yeah, but some women come from very small families, and she desires to be with someone who she can fall in love with their family, and vice versa. Contributing to the community with your partner or through your partner, that's sometimes a priority for women. And decision making, not making decisions all by oneself. I think at some point, especially over 40, women are really, really heavy with the life choices they have to make alone. And last but not least, emergency contact, you know,
Say more. I
lit
don't know what you mean.
yeah, so those dreaded forms that you have to complete to let the world know who is in your circle that will really stand up if you're unfortunately incapacitated. So usually it's going to be one's spouse, right? Because sometimes adult children are not available. Sometimes one's are not, able-bodied enough to really be there and stand up. So those forms are a reminder of a woman lacking that. But then practically when things happen, there's some women that I know that have had surgeries that have, and through those experiences have reminded them like, hey, this is something that I want. I want someone that I can rely on and someone that prioritizes my well-being. So those are usually some of the answers that I try to get women to ponder about. So that is the first thing that I think will be important so that women are not simply dating with the mindset of, I just want somebody here and that's it. It needs to be a little more um, you know, the man needs to be a little more useful than just be a companion and a travel companion. That's it.
Well, so listening to your response, it sounds like that dating needs to be more than one date. Dating needs to be a kind of a research process where you get to know someone, because that first date, which could be very exciting, and the roses and the champagne and the right restaurant, that doesn't necessarily give you a clue as to what you might be stepping into. Now, let me
Mm-hmm.
give you another old wives' question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've heard this from my mother, and I've heard this from in literature and
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of places, that women should date men that love them more than they love the man, that the man should be more in love with the woman than the woman is with the man? Or is it okay to be equally in love?
Of
So,
course, it's okay to be equally in love, and that could be the case in sometimes, and then sometimes it might be vice versa. But I think the reason why that has been true, that type of advice, I'm not going to disagree with it now.
okay.
I'm not going to disagree with it. Is because the level of covering that a woman requires from a man, usually, particularly if she's going to bear his children, particularly if she's going to be entrusted with the household and all those important things, the if she's looking for that type of dynamic where the man is covering her, where she's reliant on the man, if there's a financial disparity there where he is the breadwinner, all of that, if he's going to be responsible for putting his life on the line, all of that, is kind of hard to get that, all of that from someone that might be kind of, yeah, so, meh about, the woman that he's with. And she's just like chasing after him. That dynamic, it'll be very difficult to just kind of enforce or try to get that level of effort or covering or from a man unless he is highly emotionally invested along with other levels of investment. But yeah, I think that might be the reason why.
Well, now, you're a younger woman than me, and I really appreciate the work that you do. But I know that my generation was very much affected by the Hollywood version
Yes.
of romance and the physicality, the whole issue of you had to be extremely beautiful and the man had to be extremely beautiful, and all of that Hollywood and Cinderella concepts of relationship. Um,
Mm-hmm.
can you, is that, does that get in people's way? And how do you address that
Yeah.
with people?
It terribly gets into people's way. I think that's one of the major things that are blocking people from love. It goes on both sides. Men and women have unfortunately been affected by this. Um, yeah, through different avenues, but yeah, the pretentiousness is prevalent on both sides. So I address it through helping women see themselves a lot differently than they may have unfortunately been trained to see themselves in a man's eyes. Introducing the concept that yes, men are visual creatures, but that's not all they prioritize. If that were the case, then all married women will be models and all models will be married. And that's
That's
just not
not
the
the
case.
case. No,
That's not the case. Okay.
no.
They're regular people falling in love every regular day and getting married every regular way. So, this it's almost like how I deal with it with my clients is I encourage them to learn to people watch.
Mm.
Just go out, people watch. It doesn't have to make what you see doesn't have to make sense. you know, you're going to see some things that don't make any sense at all. How did that woman end up with that guy? It's none of your business. Figure out how you want to get your guy. The purpose of seeing that is just so you're exposed to different dynamics. It's not TV, it's not the internet. It's not social media. This is real life. Open your eyes and look, and anybody will see that, yeah, it doesn't matter. You'll see a very a woman that might resemble the looks that you've been ashamed of all your life, and she has a man chasing behind her, making sure she's okay. In real time, you can see it with your eyes if you look. So we have to get past the surface level pretentiousness. Is getting in the way of people being able to just generally connect, let alone romantically connect. So yeah.
So how did you get so wise? What inspired you? I mean, you are a certified coach. You have real credentials, but even before that, what drew you to this work?
It's so funny, this journey. It's really interesting. I mean, it's got to be God led. Me growing up, I call myself a middle child of four, but yeah, it's just the dynamics in my household. I was very much sensitive to everybody's all the relationship dynamics in my household. I was very sensitive to it all. And so because of that, and because of me being so quiet and observant, and I was bullied as a young child as well, through that journey, I took on so much in regards to being able to see, okay, who's going to like me, who's going to be upset at me, where's the bully here, because it was something I was just so used to, is reading the room, reading personalities. That was what I had to do to stay safe. So in social environments, because it was always a bully somewhere, it was always someone that's going to try to make me feel small or make me feel unintelligent. It was always there. So I was programmed over time to kind of look at those things. So when it came later that I just became curious about romantic dynamics and how it's just so different for different people. People get different outcomes. As a single person, I dated it quite a bit. I always had great situations there. Unfortunately, didn't have a lot of unfortunate situations that I'm hearing women have. So over time, as I got into adulthood, I just realized that it's what's going on here. Why do some people have some results and some people don't? Like what's going on here? So through my curiosity, I would lead conversations. I would have events, just really casual stuff. Everybody bringing their friends together. Come to find out, it was a really big pain point for a lot of people. People love discussing this thing. And it just grew, and to the point where I would host it in my home. People wouldn't leave until 5 o'clock in the morning, just talking specifically about dating and relationships. So that the perspective that I gained from people all over the country, because eventually turned into something online, and people pulling me to the side that I should do this professionally. I had no idea where to start with that. But thankfully, I got connected with individuals that mentored me over time and led me to the direction ultimately of specifically working with women that may struggle in getting those initial great connections, because everybody wants marriage, everybody wants all that extra. In today's day, it is extra because many people are not opting for marriage. So how in this society right now, with all these strikes against single people, how are you going to get results, even with all this stuff going on? It starts with initial connection. We cannot diminish that as though it's not important, because how are you going to get there without a date, without some level of interest, without consistency? So just kind of mapping that out, I think I met a part of that overall journey that that I can really thrive in, and it's in the initial connection stage.
I know the audience wants to know if you're married.
No.
No, but you choose to be single.
Yes. Yes. I'm in a
Okay.
loving relationship, but I've never been one to run to the altar.
You and Oprah together have the same viewpoint.
Yeah,
Is
but
that
I don't have a stance one way or the other. I don't like to speak a lot about myself because I have no desire to influence anyone to think like me. I realize that I'm very unique in that amongst women. But one thing that I'm very, very excited about is that my initial intention for Prepare to Be Pursued was simply to get women connected with men in a healthy way. Okay. At least have that dating experience, at least know what it feels like to be pursued and being treated well. Some women never experience that in their life as a grown up. And even after marriage, some of my clients have been married more than once and they've never been on a proper date. So that's what I'm really led towards. Marriage just tends to be the result of what I do. Many women that have gone through my programs have ultimately gotten married. So
Well, I just thank you. Is there anything you want to say before we say goodbye?
I just simply want to say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I look forward to connecting with anybody that might take interest in our journey here. It's a safe space. It's a lot of research, backing the work that we do. We take this very, very seriously. Um, Dating and connection, we don't need to think about it in a trivial manner anymore. It's extremely important. So, as dire as the societal, kind of thoughts are regarding dating or this area of life as it is right now, it's pretty bad. But you don't have to go through it alone. You don't have to suppress your desire to be with a mate just because you don't know how to do it. So
Thank you. Words of wisdom from a wonderful woman, Nikki Anarado. Thank you for your time. And we will make sure we put at the end of this conversation where people can reach you. So thank you
absolutely.
so much, Nikki.
Thank you very much.